Hi, Jonathan. You the only one here?
I'm here. We're just going to wait a few more minutes, let everybody in, and we're going to get started.
Just
Okay.
you and Mark, you and Jonathan, Mark. Just the two of you.
No, the three of you. You got to count you.
All right, fair enough.
Hey, you better get a crowd here. I'll be disappointed for you.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. We are going to get started to keep everybody on time today. Thank you all for joining us today for our Lunch and Learn, our June Lunch and Learn. And special thanks to Rob for coming on board and doing this with us today. What I'd like to do before we get started is just remind everybody the program is being recorded and you can access it later. We'll send you an email with a link to our YouTube section where you can review the video later. With that, I want to also turn it over to our sponsor today, Larissa from I Think Financial, and she's going to say a few words and then we will get on to Rob. So with that, Larissa, let me find you here. There you are.
Hi guys, hope everybody's doing well. Thanks Jonathan for another Lunch and Learn, another great sponsor opportunity. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to everybody who's referred businesses to me, Martine, Mark, everybody. I mean, they've been great. I really appreciate it. I hope that you guys are happy with the services. Keep referring them, keep them coming. We have some great promotions this month. We have a CD that's a 1.5%, which isn't awesome, but for what's out there, it's pretty good. And 1.99% for auto loan rates. So a lot of these dealers are offering their 0%, but they'll get you on the back end. I want you to always remember that they will get you on the back end. So come see me so I can, go over your buyer's order with you and everything before you decide to finance elsewhere. Any other things that you guys need, referral programs, $50 for anybody you refer, no cap on it. We're moving along, branches are opening again, and we're ready to help you guys out with whatever you need. So thanks, Jonathan.
Great, thank you, Larissa. So now it gives me my great pleasure to introduce somebody I've gotten to know very well over the last year, Rob Jager, as we like to refer to him up in the Boynton area, our future Councilman Jager, or the most interesting man we know. Rob holds a Master's of Business Administration, has over 17 years of successful experience in retail and restaurant operations. Rob's skills include project management, logistics, driving growth in top-line sales, increasing the profitability while ensuring consistency in operations. His experience runs the gamut from small startups to mid-sized companies to large, nationally recognized corporations. His track record includes managing some of the largest big box retailers in the industry to launching a successful quick-serve restaurant chain in South Florida. He has delivered significant growth to companies he has worked for over the years, whether the target has been 1 million or 100 million. Whatever the industry or size of business, Rob offers a tailored, unique approach with a dynamic combination of his experience, education, and business acumen. Rob lives in South Florida and currently works at Plum Production, an award-winning corporate video production company. Plum works with businesses of all size, from large international companies to small single-person operations. Plum Production strives to craft the perfect video to get results their clients deserve. I also should mention he is our chair of our Boynton Beach Government Affairs Committee, and Plum Production won Small Business of the Year for the Chamber. So with that, I turn it over to you, sir, and thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Jonathan, you can hear me okay, right? I just want to make sure, double checking.
Yep.
Good deal. Okay. So first of all, I appreciate being here, and I appreciate being able to do this. They asked me to kind of talk a little bit, and I was like, I don't know if you want to hear about another thing with video, and I know Jen's been doing some things with the chamber and so forth. So it's kind of difficult to say, hey, let's do more of the video stuff. But what ended up happening was we ended up getting in a conversation about how we've grown and how we've done some things. And I thought it would be an interesting concept here to kind of talk a little bit about some of the growth things that we've gone through, but more importantly, just figuring out how to help people get there too. So we're talking a little bit about, hey, we've gone through this COVID thing, and now what are we supposed to do here coming out the other side? Things are a little different. And so what the conversation was really about is, hey, where are we today? What are the opportunities that are available to us as a organization, and how are we going to get things done, and what are the steps that we need to take? And so I guess I want to just kind of show you this first and say, here's what we're looking to talk about in the beginning. It is going to be interactive. I am going to ask that there's going to be points and times here where I'm going to need somebody to speak up and offer some inputs and some things that they're doing related to what we're talking about. And then I'm also going to have you writing some things down. So if you don't have a piece of paper and a pen or pencil, I would get that ready, because at some point, and I'll tell you when, but you're going to want to write a couple things down to kind of play along, if you will, because this is supposed to be a little bit interactive, and it's going to hopefully solidify some things for you and clarity of what you're going to need to want to do next. So let's kind of get started. The first thing I want to start with is a survey. So Jonathan, if you're not sleeping yet, let's start the survey. And really there's a question that I have, and that is how many of you have completed a SWOT analysis on your business or where you work, even if you don't own the business, in the past 6 months? And I'm sure some people have. Maybe you don't even know what a SWOT analysis is, and that's okay. We're going to kind of talk through some of that, and you'll get a feel for what that looks like. So what I want to do is get an idea of, who's in the audience, what your experience is, and that'll help me kind of tailor some of how I talk about some of these things, because we can get into one of the things I think, I told Jonathan I could speak for and work on this for a half day with people doing this. And this is something that I used to do with companies a while back. So, going through this in 45 minutes or so is going to be a very, very fast version, but hopefully you'll get something out of it. So it looks like 40% of you have done a SWOT analysis in the last 6 months, which is impressive. I think I was expecting a hair lower than that. 35% said no, and 25% said, I have no idea what that is, so help me out. And that's okay. We're still missing a couple people, but that's all right. So I get a good feel for what types of folks are out there. So let's talk a little bit about what that looks like. And let me see if I can start the next one. So this is basically your SWOT, grid, if you will. And we're going to go through each of these quadrants in a little more detail so that we can get a bigger understanding of what they are, what this means, and how this is going to impact how you're going to move forward. So first things first, let's talk about the first top left corner, which is your strengths. And strengths, you're going to want to think in terms of your business, in terms of internal things that you control directly, things that you can do day to day, month to month, week to week, and that are really kind of your advantage. So things that you do really, really well. And a lot of times what you'll hear is you'll hear clients or customers telling you, you're really good at this, whatever that is. Or you'll have stakeholders, people that invest or people that are part of your company, suppliers, vendors, customers, employees, everybody that is involved one form or another in your business, they will tell you something that you're really good at. And I want you to think about those types of things. So let me kind of give you a couple of examples. You might have a really good culture in your business. You might have a high level of technology that nobody else uses or has. You might have good community relations, or you might be really responsive with your customers or clients. These are the things where you really lead. You might be really more nimble than some of your competitors. You might have a lot of cash on hand. You might have the right people in the right place, and just happens to be right now that it's not all, hitting on all cylinders because of the closing down and everything, and all that's fine too. But these are the things that you have as strengths. So when I think about the strengths that you have, there are things that are in your company, things that are really strong for you. Those are the ones that you're going to want to think about when you're going through the strengths. So let's go through an example. Before I do, these are the things you have to do 100% correctly all of the time. And the reason is that while you're working, if you're not doing these correctly, they can be eroded by your competitor because they'll see that you're not doing this as well as you used to. So you're going to want to hang your hat on a couple of different strengths, and you're going to have to want to identify that and do those correctly all the time. So in going through this exercise, it reminded me of a book that I had and I read a while back, which is The Discipline of Market Leaders. And the concept is this: there's three types of ways of leading in your marketplace. One is product leadership. You have, product leadership, operational excellence, and then the third is customer intimacy. And so let's go through these each individually briefly. And I'm thinking this and related to the strengths. If you're a product leader company, you have fantastic products, high quality, best in class, a few offerings. And so my question to you, and let me see if I can open up the chat too so that I can see, is do you have any idea some of the companies that could be viewed as being product leaders, companies that are really good at it, who are best at generating the best products? Anybody come up with any ideas? This is where the interaction sometimes happens. No, nobody.
Like
Huh?
Nike?
Yes, that's a very good example. So one of the ones that I listed was Nike. Let's see if I can get it started back up again. Yeah, so Nike's a great example of a good product-driven company, and so is Apple. And so those are two examples. How about operational ones? These are ones that have a great distribution system. They're highly process focused. They are very efficient at what they do, and they execute very well. Anybody think of anybody that does that really well?
Yeah,
Amazon.
my old company, FedEx.
FedEx, Amazon, yeah. Those are all great examples. Yeah, I
Okay,
even put Walmart on here because they can get products delivered to the shelves very effectively and efficiently. But Amazon, FedEx, UPS they're all operationally excellent. How about customer intimate? These are the ones that are focused on customers' needs. Their service is the key. They build products to the customer's specs. It's not so much about the high quality product, but it's really it still is a good quality product, but it's more to the customer's need. And they reward their team based on customer service more than anything else. They have high satisfaction rates. What companies come up with that? And rather than bouncing back and forth, go ahead and unmute and say what you think.
Computer care.
Disney.
Computer care?
Legal Shield.
The Breakers Hotel.
Very good. Yeah, those are all good ones. So I wrote down, I heard Disney too. I wrote down Zappos is a good one. Also Nordstrom's, Chick-fil-A. Anybody going to Chick-fil-A where you're satisfied? No, you're usually beyond satisfied when you get your meals there, I think, just from a service standpoint. I think, one time I was there when it was raining and there was somebody out there running back and forth from cars with an umbrella helping people while it was raining. And I'm like, what? Who does that at a drive-through fast food place? So those are the kinds of things that you have to think about when you're talking about your strengths. Think about which one of these three buckets, if you will, you want to be in, because you need to be able to be in one of these. And so let's kind of go through another example. Starbucks. This is just a SWOT that I found online that talked about Starbucks and how they do. And one of their strengths is they have a really strong brand image. They have an extensive global supply chain and moderate diversification through subsidiaries. So basically, people know the brand almost without question. And then they have this global supply chain that's really solid. They can get coffee from anywhere. They can get their products from anywhere. And then they have subsidiary businesses and products that are supporting of their brand, but don't necessarily fit into the coffee market. So given all of that, let's talk about what your possible strengths are. And this is where the interactive part comes in terms of writing something down. So if you're going to do what I would need you to do here, this would be one of the things. Get a big piece of paper or a regular piece of paper, draw a line down the center and draw a line horizontally down the middle and up and down so that you've got a big plus sign. And then on the top left, you're going to have your strengths. And what I want you to do is think about all the stuff we just talked about and write down 3, 4, 5, 10 really good strengths that you feel like your business has. And while you're writing that, let me say one other thing. I hear people say to us, or say before when they've done this, that we have good customer service. We have great customer service. And while I would agree with you probably do, I'll bet your competitors say the same thing. So think about it really. What if you have customers telling you, I have never seen anybody operate like this. You guys are fantastic with. that's a strength. Then it's a strength. But if you just say it because you think it, unless you can show proof of that, make sure that you're writing down stuff that you know are solid strengths. So who's got one that they would love to share? Because it would be nice to know and work through this a little together. Anybody want to share?
Personal service.
Mark?
I'm sorry.
Personal
How
service.
we answer our phones.
How you answer your phones?
Yeah, the fact that we answer our phones, a lot of banks,
Ah.
I know Larissa can relate to this because I know they answer their phones, but most banks don't. You're getting an 800 number, push this button, push that button.
Yep. Yep.
And we handle everything internally minus debit, which is also unusual.
Yep. And think a little outside of the box too. Do you have something that is different than anybody else really has? Those are the strengths that you really want to focus on too. So when you're writing this list out, think of things as deep as you can. And obviously you're not going to get into all that today and right now, but anything else that anybody else wants to share? If not, that's okay. We'll go to the next section.
Excuse me.
Oh, go ahead.
Excuse me. I do. Okay.
Yeah.
We are trying to keep our clients engaged, and since we are changing our program, how it's hitting, we are going more virtual in our ethics schools. So the main point here is to keep our clients engaged. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So keeping engagement going. And what does that mean?
That means that we want them to keep them focused on what we're doing. We don't want to lose them the track, because before used to be more presence, and right now our classes are going to be virtual. It's like getting ready, going back to work. That's what it is. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's a good example too. So as you write these things down, think about what your customers are telling you, what your vendors are telling you, all the different components that really interact with your business. Think about how those strengths are. And remember, those are internal, and they're basically your biggest advantages over your competitors. Okay. So let's talk a little bit now about weaknesses. Weaknesses are also internal, but they're kind of like the thing that maybe isn't quite as good for you, but you could improve. In other words, they don't have to be really, really bad, but boy, I should improve this. And so they could be something like, hey, I'm having a hard time getting financing, or I have some employees that are just not quite performing like they're supposed to. You might have a missing skill set that you need to expand on. I write in here, scarcity mindset, meaning, you think that you never have enough, but in reality, it's all around you and you don't even realize it. Maybe your name isn't very strong in the community for one reason or another. That's a valid weakness. It's not a bad thing. It's something that you could improve pretty quickly and easily, but making sure that you do that. How you respond, maybe you're suffering a little bit on response time only because you've got so many things going on that you can't get responses fast enough. So maybe there's a system that needs to be set up for that. Maybe it's seasonality. So thinking about those types of things, let's talk about, and the other thing is you got to continuously improve these. These are the ones that are the things that have to get improved over time, or you're going to be in trouble, or somebody's going to take advantage of that. Now, sometimes you can make those weaknesses not be so prevalent, or make your competitors not so aware of them. So that's one way to deal with that. But basically, it brings me back to this. When we talk about these three areas that you need to focus on, if you're a strong, let's say, customer intimate company, you have strong service levels and all that good stuff. Does that mean you can have a product that's not very good? No, you got to have something that's halfway decent, right? So there's certain minimum viable levels that you have to be at. So the product still has to be good, the operation still has to be good, but your customer service is fantastic. Here's a good example too. If you're a product leader, let's think of Apple. Apple makes good products, right? Everybody agrees that they're pretty good products. If you don't like Apple, that's fine, but they're still good products, right? People stand in line waiting for Apple products because they're that good. But here's what I also know, that sometimes their distribution system product doesn't come out when it's supposed to. Sometimes they're short on supplies to make the products. Sometimes you go to the Apple store, you have a problem. How long do you have to wait in line before you get service? Hour, 2 hours? Somebody's going to come back. So think about it. You're willing to put up with a little bit of whatever that minimum level of frustration for a customer is on the customer side for Apple, they're making it up for in the quality of the product. So if you just because you have a strong one in one of these three, the other two have to be pretty strong too. They have to be strong enough that people are accepting of that. And I think they're a little more forgiving when you're a larger company with a great brand than when you're small. So let's talk about Starbucks again. They have high price points. That's one of their weaknesses. They've generally standardized products, if you will. It's pretty much all coffee, and it's how they make they make them all the same as anybody else. And you can imitate them any day. You can have other companies come in and make the same thing. It's the value or whatever their coffee is, but it's the same product. If you want a cappuccino here versus there, it's the coffee beans that make the difference, right? So there's some weaknesses there. So if we think about your business, what does that look like? What are some of the weaknesses, the opportunities that are in there that, boy, I should really be working on at some point? Anybody want to share anything along those lines?
I would.
Yeah.
Growing my team probably. I'm just a sole proprietor. You know, I do contract work within the community and all over, but ultimately I do the work. I do the contracts. I do, you know, the negotiation. I make the meetings. I'm growing my business. So growing my team would be one thing. And my internal self weakness would be that I am the administrative part of a business is not my strength. It is a weakness of mine, but my customer intimacy, as you said, is so strong that it is forgiven because I'm a people person and not a paper person, and that gets me caught up. So I think if I could grow my team, if I had more supporters and that supported my business and my mission, that I could have a cash flow then to grow that team, but it's just limited at this point. But I think that's what I would share.
That makes sense. Okay, that's a great example too, because here's one that is you can do several things with that. And I think hang on to that one. That's a really good example. And make sure you have that written down, because when we get to this other section later, there's some things that you're going to be able to do with it that maybe somebody else in this group won't be able to do, because you have a very clearly defined thing that you say, I can work on this. So anybody else have one that they want to share? If not, that's fine. Just let me know. Going once.
I'm also I'm also an independent contractor. I think limited scalability, and right now weakness on marketing.
On what was the last part?
Marketing.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Fair enough. So those are things, write those down, because I've got some thoughts on when we get to there. Those are all good examples. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. So the next piece is opportunities, and the opportunities are interesting because they're external. People always kind of get confused sometimes with weaknesses and strengths versus opportunities and threats between internal and external. These are external things that are outside your control, but you might be able to take advantage of or be a part of. So a good example is you might be able to improve your competitive position in the marketplace because you see some opportunities out there because your competitor A and competitor B are fighting with each other, but they're missing this whole other section of work that's right in front of them, but they're busy dealing with each other. Maybe there's economic changes that are happening and the economy kind of turns down a little bit or it goes up really fast and you're not ready for it, or somebody else might not be ready for it, but you would be. Maybe it's government policies or technologies that are changing, social patterns. Social patterns are one of those things where there's an opportunity right now. Like, Jen was telling me the other day, Jen, my wife, tells me the other day, she goes, I think about Facebook and I think about the way that things are running right now. And there's a lot of people that are frustrated with Facebook. There's an opportunity there for a new social media platform to come into play that's going to be more in line with what people are looking for. And so there's an opportunity there. If they don't do a SWOT analysis, they're going to miss the opportunity and they may become obsolete at some point. So maybe there's a change in the market sector. There's a new market available. Weak competitors that are out there. Could you acquire somebody? There's opportunities that are out there, but you have to be able to pay attention to some of those and what those are. And these are the things that you need to use to create your goals and where you're going to go. So when I think about Starbucks, again, if we go through that, you know, their expansion, one of their opportunities is really expanding in developing markets, because they're looking at it saying, we've kind of saturated the US, right? There's some street corners where there's one on one corner and one on the other corner right across the street from each other. While that helps with traffic, there's really not much more room for a lot of growth. There's some opportunity for diversifying what they do. So they got into food, and now what else could they get into? And they've got some opportunities with some partnerships that are out there. Those are some of the things that they talked about possibly as doing. So knowing that, how do you look at your opportunities? What opportunities do you see based on, just if you haven't thought about it before, or if you have before, what are opportunities that are out there in front of you right now? We've just gone through a big downturn, and we've gone through a little bit of I shouldn't say downturn, a slowdown, and things that have gotten in our way. There's an opportunity right now where, because not everybody's quite open yet, and you can't function at 100%. There's opportunities that are happening right now in every business. I look at restaurants doing things totally different that they've looked at as an opportunity now to expand their business more than they used to. So what kinds of things do you guys see in your business, and what would you be writing down? Anybody want to share?
I can say, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. In our business, certainly, it took a dive on the regular products, but we've flipped over and you know, we can provide the PPE products now.
Yep.
So
Okay. Yeah. See, that's
yeah.
a huge opportunity. So what kind of PPE products could you supply?
Well, the face masks,
Yep.
blank or imprinted, and the hand sanitizers, and the screens, and you know, almost anything.
All those types of things. Yep. Okay. What else? Who else has got some stuff?
We have an opportunity in my company because we do offer people the opportunity to work from home or work from anywhere.
Okay.
So right now, with people losing their jobs or people looking for a plan B, I found a lot of people that I know and people that are just coming to me through referrals who are looking for that extra opportunity in life.
Okay. Oops. Yeah. No, that's totally true. And the more that you see that as an opportunity, the more that you know maybe some steps that you need to take to get there, right? What else? Honestly, this is where the gold is. This is where all of your good stuff is going to be coming from.
If I could share one of the things that an opportunity that has availed because of the virus is so many companies are changing their business model. They have to change their business model. So it's opened an opportunity for me to connect with people that didn't know that using an executive coach would be powerful. The other thing for me internally, for myself, even though that's an external thing, is that it affords me that opportunity to create more online processes for clients, which I stumbled with for a while and thought, no, I don't need to, because I had a very good, strong practice without it. And now I like sitting in a t-shirt.
Yeah, who does, right? I know, right? And honestly, you could probably teach this better than I could, but I think there's a lot of people out there that don't recognize that there's opportunities right in front of them. And so what you're describing is, this happened, and now I see it more clearly because it happened. Otherwise, I wouldn't have seen it necessarily. So yeah, good example. Another, good example that I could give you that we went through is because we do corporate video production. Who wants a crew to come in every so often to do some videos? Nobody. Like that. We don't really want that. Not too many people do. We have options and things available. But now, guess what's happening? People have switched to what we've been doing. Also, at the same time, in the last couple of years, has been developing a YouTube channel. And YouTube took off a lot during the pandemic starting. So all of a sudden now, where there's extra income coming in through the YouTube channel that we didn't have before. We didn't see that opportunity, except for we had done this type of SWOT analysis before, and all of a sudden realized, hey, there's an opportunity here that we should be looking at doing more of that. So we ended up doing some more videos and doing a few other things. So there's opportunities, and this is where your pivots happen, and this is where your gold is. And if you don't focus on these types of things, these opportunities are available, take the time to step back, look at it, you're going to miss it. So let's go to threats now real quick. So with threats, they're also external, and they're external activities that you maybe not be able to control. So for example, the economy piece, we've talked about that. Environmental conditions, maybe it's just change in government policy. Maybe things have changed that way. You lost some resources or lost a vendor. You've gotten cybersecurity breach. That's a threat to everybody. there's a change in what people want versus what they could get or wanted before. Legislation changes, those types of things. So those are all pieces that are obviously outside your control. There's nothing you can do about it. Why is that important to even think about? Because these are things, if you think about them ahead of time, when they come up, you have a little bit of a game plan. You may not know all the details about it, but you'll at least have a start. Now, I will tell you this, to be honest, I didn't have coronavirus on my threats list. I did not see that coming. I don't think anybody saw that coming, but at least you could have said, hey, look, the economy, maybe that piece would have been something you would have planned for, or, there's other pieces of that you might have already had a little bit of a plan. So you had to adjust your thinking at what specifically it was, but maybe change that. So from a Starbucks standpoint, their threats is really, look, we've got competition. They're selling it for cheaper. They imitate us. And, there's a lot of people that are shifting now to, hey, we want to go to the mom and pop place rather than the big corporate place. So if you think about that, there's a mind shift or a change in what people are the social patterns, if you will, as part of their threats. Think about what are your threats. And when you think about those things, what do you come up with? Anybody want to share?
I've got another one.
Yep.
The threat of the shipping from China became an issue, certainly.
Okay.
And having to overcome and go around and be patient with all that. And
so
then
it
the
slowed
other
things
thing,
down?
Yeah, absolutely. And
okay.
Delayed and
Yep.
yeah. Getting a little better though. But also the online competitors of just people they can go online and throw their name on an item. Well, that's, not good really, but people can do that. So that's a so-called threat to me.
Yeah, no, that's a valid one. Those are things that you should have plans for and think about.
Yeah.
What else? Anybody else have anything? Don't be shy.
Well, I don't want to be a hog here, but so many policies and procedures have been changing because of this pandemic. And I think that I'm coming in trying to already change policies and procedures for ADA compliance for people in our community. And it's just like one more pushback of trying to get through the door, but then more on the opportunity window with that threat, provides an opportunity for me to say, well, people are being a little bit more sensitive towards everybody right now. So I think that plays off each a little bit.
Yeah, that's very good. Yep. Very good. Anybody else? I want to make sure we get through the last bit of it too. So, all right. So based on that, there's a couple little pieces that I want to make sure that I cover before we get to this is where I feel like the next part is where some of the magic happens when you do this type of thing, is you're going to want to try to convert your SWOT into goals. And so obviously you're going to focus on the opportunities. This is where the goal is. You want to make sure that you're incorporating your strengths. Don't try to do something that you're not good at. Expand what you're good at and then mitigate your weaknesses. Make it so that they're not even visible to your competitors, and avoid any sort of threats that you have coming at you. And I put this slide in here for people who are, maybe have a little bit of a team that they want to work with and have other people that they want to do. So if you're going to do something like this with your team, make sure you involve all the people that need to be there, and you do a lot of listening. It's a lot of creativity. This is where you have a lot of free flowing thinking. There's nobody really being shot down, and just kind of coming up with some ideas of where your strengths and opportunities could be. And then remember, just strengths, weaknesses are internal, opportunities and threats are external. Think about the tangible and the intangible. It's not all about the products, or it's not about just the customer service stuff. And then be realistic when it all comes right down to it. Those are the keys to doing this when you're putting this together with your team. And then the other piece of that is in order to make things happen, there's a little bit of an accountability piece that needs to happen. And so for me, what I like to do is when we get to the next part here, there's 4 different areas you want to make sure that you're assigning to different people. One is who's responsible for what. And then the other one is who's accountable in total. Like, this is their ultimate person that's going to be held accountable for getting this done or not. Who's going to be consulted? It could be internal, it could be external. And then who's going to be informed in the business so that they know what's happening, but they don't have to make any decisions necessarily. Using that, and again, they can be the same person on some of these. They can be different people. They can be internal and external on a lot of them. But these are the pieces that make it where people can start to get things done. And I'll show you how in a second. and then the other pieces is focusing on your opportunities. Again, we've talked about that. So what I want you to do is, if you would, take your opportunities list, take a look at them. And if you have only one, that's fine. But if you have more than that, take your top 3 or so and look at them and say, is this attainable? Could I fix this, do this, create something in 1 to 3 years? Am I clear on what I'm trying to get accomplished? And do I have an idea of what steps I could take to get there? And if you do, then we're going to go into this thing called a SWOT enhancer that I have heard it called. So I'm going to change what I'm showing here. And we're going to go to this one, which is a SWOT analysis. Now, I'll share this with everybody, whoever wants it. In fact, I was going to throw the link up there earlier, but here's basically what it comes down to is you're going to fill this out. There's different tabs on the bottom. And let's say you have, and I just filled in some examples here. So if one of your strengths that you wrote down is we're well known in the chamber or in the community. That's a strength. What am I going to do with that information? What am I going to do with that activity? So I might look at this next one which it populates over here, wherever you write in that box, it'll populate over here. But then you need to write down some information here. So what action needs to happen? What are you trying to get accomplished? So we're going to try to maximize relationships. So what does that mean? So the task would be, I'm going to set up 4 one-to-ones with different people throughout the month. It could be Zoom meetings, it could be other ways, but the goal is to identify and to make one new connection. It could be them, it could be somebody that they know, that could be the goal. And then what I want you to do is think about, is this a high impact, a medium impact, or a low impact? If it's medium, you're gonna write down medium. If it's a low impact, you're gonna write down low impact. And it's gonna help you sort, what you should focus on this whole list of things when you fill it all out. And then the responsible person, again, it goes back to who's responsible to getting this done. So Joe has to go and schedule 4 one-to-ones for each month. Once he does that, then he's gonna report back to whoever needs to be reported back to that it's done. Joe is going to be ultimately responsible as well. That's his program, and he may have to ask Mary some questions, and maybe Anita needs just to be informed. So the due date, because July is coming up, maybe we make the due date for this instead of June 8th, maybe we say by the 25th of June, he's going to get this done. So this date completed just disappeared. But when he's late, so today's the 10th, if the date was actually the 8th, it'll show up that it's late. So it uses this as the deadline, as the date of today. So it's going to calculate it out and say this is late. So this is how you're going to be able to say, all right, we're getting all of these things done, and we can add more stuff to this and more tasks, and each one can have more tasks underneath. You could have 6, 4, 5 things, whatever, under each item that you want to get accomplished. So again, weakness, maybe it's a loss of employee. So somebody shared a weakness that I thought was really good.
I said that I'm not an administrator. I'm more of a people person than a paper person.
Right. So you would write down here that expand administrative piece, right? So what is one of the actions? What is the goal that you want to try to fix? You're going to have to, you have to describe that. What's the thing you're going to take action in doing? What do you want to take action to?
I need to find community partners or sponsors or somebody who supports my cause that would give me some income, allow income to come in where I might not have to create another position at some point for somebody else to do that administrative work.
Yep. And so some of the tasks that might be involved with that might be, if you had to break it down into 1, 2, 3, maybe 10 steps, 5 steps, how would you break that down?
Probably, networking, setting up one-on-ones with people that might have the best interest in my company and what I'm trying to do. Find out other resources that might be available as far as, maybe small business loans or things like that, getting people started. So the third one, I don't know. Give me a third one.
Could you outsource anything? Is there anything you could outsource?
Probably not.
No. Okay. So some people you can, sometimes you can't. So that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It might be, is there somebody that you could hire to do pieces? And maybe that goes back to another item which says, listen, I wish I could hire somebody, but I'm not, it's not quite affordable for me to do that quite yet.
Right.
But maybe there's somebody you could hire once a week, once a month. Maybe there's a student that you can get an intern for to help you with that, right? So you got FAU, you got Lynn, you got different students that are around the area. Maybe they can do it virtually, maybe not. But yeah, so that makes you think about all the different tasks, and you may end up with 4 or 5 tasks under each one. That's okay. And then again, how is this going to impact you if you fixed it? If you fixed it, if the impact is high, then it's high. If it's, well, it'll help, or it's a long-term thing, that's different. And then who's responsible? And if it's just you in the business, then it's you all the way across. Right? So that's the way it is. And then when you want to get it done by, and due date, whatever the due date is, that's how you would work through that. So again, opportunities. I wrote down an opportunity in here. Some of you are in Boynton Beach, and there's a lot of economic development stuff going on right now in Boynton Beach. What if you said, my business, I want to get involved in economic development? Anybody have an opportunity they want to talk through? So this is some of the things that you could do. Anybody else you want to talk about an opportunity that you have?
I am in, can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you.
I am in the business of developing people with what I do. And with so much anxiety and the stress of having to shift from coming into a brick and mortar office every day, managers are still trying to manage teams. There's a lot of emotion around how do we be agile and be nimble.
Yep.
And so an opportunity for me would be to talk about this new environment, but how I can help develop people, give them the tools and strategies to maintain and increase productivity while dealing with the feeling part of, hey, this is a different normal. Does that make sense?
I think so. Say it, if you had to rephrase it just a little bit, because I
want to help people allay the anxieties and the stressors around this having to work remote or manage people that are remote.
Gotcha. So I think I know what you're saying. What I think you're saying is, if somebody's not there in front of me that I can't monitor, I don't think they're doing the work.
That's right. Yeah. I want to. And so I do that with, I don't know if some of the people on the call have heard about the DISC assessment.
Yep.
It is similar to the Myers-Briggs, but I do some coaching and certifying HR people to be able to do these assessments. And so each individual and team on the different team get some good strategies.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So if that was one of your opportunities to you maximize, right? What would be one of the actions that maybe something you're trying to get accomplished, or some of the tasks that you want to do to get that communicated and get that accomplished? How would you do that?
Well, identify that target audience, dealing with those leaders and executives, and really, in a conceptual way, get into the conversations that they're having in their heads.
How would you get in front of them?
Well, one way is through this. Whenever we have the Chamber of Commerce, or some could be, some could be even just direct contacts, through referrals.
Yep.
So
have you used LinkedIn?
Oh, yes, I still do. Yes.
Okay. So it's all those pieces, then you start to see the tasks of, all right, these are the connections that I have. These are the connections that I want. How do I connect between the two of them and have that conversation? So those are the pieces that you would write in there as your tasks, right? And then how would that impact your business if you could do that? Is it a low impact? Is it a medium impact? Is it a high impact?
Yeah, that would be high for sure.
Yeah.
I think.
So
that's one side.
Yep. That's what you would write down in there. And then under responsible, is it just you, or is there more than one of you?
Right now, there's only me, but I do have subcontractors that I could piece out some of the
So when you subcontract out, obviously you put that person's name on this responsible list because they're going to take care of that for you. You might be the ultimate accountable, and you might be the consulted, and maybe there's somebody else out external between the two of you that you might incorporate into the informed. So those are the types of steps that you're going to want to take to make sure that you get all the pieces that you want to get accomplished to get to your goals. And again, you go back to threats. Same type of thing. If the economy slows down, here are maybe some options or opportunities that you could have those conversations about. What are the tasks that you need to get done, and what are the things that you want to do? So I share this with you. I don't know if this is helpful or not for you, but to me, I feel like the exercise that when we went through that, we went through this exercise with somebody that made a huge difference in terms of how do we get where we need to go, and what were the opportunities that you had in front of you. And I go back to, again, on more than one occasion, the things that happened when this economy slowed down. We were all scared. We were scared on our side, and I know everybody else was kind of like, what's going to happen next? We don't know, and where's this going to lead us? And by having done this SWOT analysis before, it really clarified some things for us. We knew that while we can't go shoot, there's opportunities here, here, and here. Let's go expand that area and work on those things now. It took the fear away. And that's, I think, why I felt like this was a decent topic to talk about, because I don't think everybody understands how important having a little bit of a plan for things that you don't even realize are going to happen, because it gives you that framework. So I guess I'm going to open it up now for any other questions that you might have, because we went through this really fast, like I said. Any other questions that you might have?
I don't really have a question, but just because we've been so interactive with this, I appreciate your guidance, and this has been wonderful. I have so much work to do ahead of myself, but I'm excited. I was kind of low for a second, kind of like stagnant and not really sure which way. But so this was really inspirational. So thank you. But it's interesting you say that about being prepared, right? Because with what I do, I've always kind of offer it as a prepared kit. It's like we have a hurricane kit. We have everything prepared, and although we can't control the hurricane, it's still scary and it's going to be disruptive. We have a little plan, And so when I talk about the ADA with American Disability and inclusion of deaf people showing up your business, or how to market to deaf people, I don't expect people to be ASL savvy, but have a plan. And that's kind of how the dialogue starts, because it's not important to have a toolkit until the storm shows up to you and you don't know what to do, versus, okay, have a little prior knowledge to this. And so what you're saying is really accurate.
Well, and I appreciate that. And I think what would happen if each of us, when we think about hurricane season, you took and applied the same thing with the hurricanes. So what's your strength when a hurricane comes? What's your weakness? What's your opportunity? What's your threat? Do you have something that you go, whoa, I didn't even think about that. If we did this before anybody else did, there, you see them out there. You see people doing things before anybody else. You're like, how did they come up with that? It's because they had that thinking already going. There is nothing, to me, more important in any business than to think a little bit ahead of everybody else. And it's hard to do. I have no idea where video production is going to go in the next 10 years. I have no idea. But all I do know is that there's different various paths it could take, generally speaking. So how do I position myself so that I can be ready when it goes one way or the other, right? So what else? Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So when you're thinking about your SWOT analysis, do you have any tips if you kind of hit writer's block, or you're so into your own business that sometimes it's hard to take a step back? So
that is a great question.
Any tips on that?
My recommendation is to bring somebody like a Nancy Profit in who can help you come up with those types of things.
I did not pay for that.
Other people who can do an external look at your business, anybody that can look at you and with a very not critical eye, but an eye of saying, boy, you're missing something that's right in front of you, is huge. And if you don't have, I hate to say this, but if you don't have somebody that is kind of like a mentor / soundboard / whatever, create a group. There's nothing better than creating a small group of people that you trust, who you can say, hey, I have a question for you. I've got like 4 or 5 people that I can call at any given day and say, hey, I had a stupid question here. I don't know what to do with this. How would you deal with that? Or what do you think is an opportunity here? That's how you end up finding those things. So when you're doing it by yourself, that you're going to run into that writer's block. But when you're already having those conversations with people, you'll start to see those items pop up at you. And if I were you, I would hang that plus with a SWOT written out on your wall somewhere. And every day as you go through the week, maybe once a week, you peek at it and you figure out, who should I talk to about this week? And just build that thing up over time. And if you want to do it quickly, yeah, I mean, there's different ways to do that, but bringing the right people in makes a big difference. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's
Okay.
perfect. Thank you.
All right, go ahead. What else? Any other questions? I know we're getting close to out of time, so everybody, any other questions? So I really appreciate everybody's time. I put on my last slide here my contact if anybody had any questions. I don't know if Jonathan, you wanted to, let me see if I can pull that up. So if you needed to contact me for any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions. But at the same time, it's not a very difficult task. There's a lot of stuff online for it. And if you do need somebody, I'm telling you, somebody like a Nancy can help you get way more out of it than I can, than anybody that you can look up online, because they're going to look at things with the right mindset and the right thoughts. The other thing I should do is grab this link, and I will post this down below. That's going to give you, get this publicly here, everyone. It's in my Google Drive, my Dropbox. That's going to bring up the Excel spreadsheet that had all the different things with the examples. So if you want to copy that and then paste it into a browser, you can download it. The only thing I ask is don't type into it unless you save an extra copy, because it's gonna, whatever you type in there, unless you save a separate copy in a separate place, it's gonna show up for everybody else. So, make sense? Any last comments? Otherwise, I will turn it over to Jonathan.
Thank you, Rob. That was a great presentation. Thank you again. And for those that want to watch it again, you'll get the email link very shortly after the meeting, and you'll have access to the presentation again and all of Rob's slides on our YouTube feed. Just want to remind everybody, this afternoon at 2 o'clock, we have Kelly Smallridge, who's the president and CEO of the Business Development Board. She'll be giving a update from the county perspective, Palm Beach County perspective. And tomorrow morning at 8:30, we have our June membership virtual breakfast, sponsored by Office Depot. So we hope to virtually see you at one of those events. Rob, thank you again. This was a great presentation. Thank you all for spending your lunch hour with us, and enjoy your day, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.